Good morning, Sawmill world. Look, what's got me here today, I want to share this with you. If you have a sawmill or thinking about a sawmill, I want to share a little bit about these tomato stakes. Not many people think about a tomato stake to be a moneymaker, but let me assure you, you can make some money with them. My first order was around $5,000. The farmer wanted to see just how they would turn out before he put in a big order. Well, guess what? The second year was much more than that. And the third year was the same. I wanted to share with y'all my technique of cutting it, a one-man operation, no edger, minimal tools. My sawmill and this chainsaw has made me tens of thousands of dollars. The things I want to touch on is the dimensions of these, the packaging of these tomato stakes, how I sell them, how you should maybe look to sell them in your area, who to sell to, and my technique on how to do it. Come on, hop aboard, let's get to it. First thing I want to touch on is the dimensions I cut my tomato stakes. 5 feet long, 60 inches, and 1 1/8 by 1 1/8. Just a small, square stick is what I call them. Boy, have I cut a lot of sticks. It seems like if you go any smaller, 1 inch, especially with green wood and it shrinks, you're down below that 1 inch mark. They're a little more fragile. Your at-home gardeners may like that dimension. So I'm not completely against it, just need to feel the market out in your area and see what is selling. But the guys I'm cutting for, being a pretty sizable produce farm, they like the 1 1/8 by 1 1/8, 60 inches, and that suits their needs the best. They're handled more rough, they're thrown around, they are used for 3 to 4 years, so they hold up pretty good. To get the longest life out of these things, you need to make sure there is no knots. You want a clean piece of wood. Being so small, if you get a knot, of course, all you sawyers should know, that is the weak point in your lumber. Now let's touch on where you're gonna try to market these tomato stakes. I would first start at your local feed stores, your co-ops. That's gonna be on your smaller scale. And what I mean by smaller scale, that's gonna be in your smaller bundles, and you're not going to need to cut 20, 30,000 at a time. My advice is to start small. Get used to cutting these things, used to packaging them and handling these, and see how it turns out for you. I am telling you, you can make good money with these tomato stakes. Down here, my orders always come in around January, and they need them around March. And since it's kind of a seasonal thing and everybody need them in the springtime, that's one reason why I start out small, so you do not overload yourself. You will be surprised at how many people need these. Cut them, put them on your social media. People can come buy them from you, small bundles, or you can get up to how I package them in 500 bundles. That's how these farmers like it. And that's about all my tractor can pick up at one time. Your local feed stores is a good way for advertisement also. Once they find out where you're getting them from, your other farmers can come in there. Let's get into the pricing aspect of the whole game. There's really no set price. My best advice on that is to call around and figure out the market, what they're selling for, how many's in a bundle, of course. Usually the way it goes when you're selling to wholesale, the more you have, the cheaper it is. Now, if you're selling to your smaller clients, I've seen these go upwards of $1.50 a piece. And then when you get into the bulk bundles, I've seen them go as cheap as 50 cents a piece. When I'm doing my bulk bundles, say this order I got and I'm finishing up right now, hopefully gonna get it done this week, is 20,000. 20,000 is a lot of sticks. You start getting orders like that, you gotta have some trees laying around. A lot of people turn their heads up at them because they're so small and it's such a lot of work. And on that work aspect, you cannot be scared of work, because me and this sawmill and this chainsaw, we made mama happy by putting groceries on the table and getting the bills paid. Now, as far as technique goes, I have this 10-foot log on the mill. I usually cut them 15.5 feet, my logs. That way, I can make 2 cuts with my chainsaw after making the passes and get 3 stacks of sticks that I can count. That's been a part of the technique, but hey, we'll get into that in just a minute. And I can show you on this 10-foot log how I cut them. But that's enough talking, let's get to it. I'm gonna show you how I do it. All right, let's talk a little bit about my technique. First pass, get you a nice scab off. Try not to waste too much, but we got to get at least 2 sides square. First, second pass, we're gonna do that. Third pass, we will get on scale and make a good clean cut. Flip it. Fourth pass, we on scale here. We need to make sure that this edge right here has no bark. This step is very important for when you flip this up so this board can stand up when we do that last flip to cut our last passes. So now that we're here on that fourth side up, we are going to make our 1 1/8 passes all the way down, flip it one more time, and that'll be 4 flips total to get this log where we need it. In the other video that I'll have in the description, I only do 3 passes. This is a little bit different because we're dealing with a little smaller boards. And if you haven't seen that video, you need to go check it out because it will help you handle your logs more efficiently and raise production, which raises your revenue, and it helps you get that job done a whole lot faster. Let's get this cut into 1 1/8 stacks. We're gonna flip this thing over. We'll be able to get on to our final pass. We got her done, son. Look, first thing, if y'all been watching the channel a little while, that last video I put out about handling the log more efficiently, when I do this flip right here to make my final pass, the bark's still on the top. Tell you why I don't like doing it on these small boards. First off, where's dirt on a log? You got it, in the bark. Well, every time you make a pass, all those passes, and that dirt's in this bark, you're dulling your blade. Dull your blade faster, costs you more. That's an expense. Then after you stand it up, second thing, when you make this first pass, then you have all these little tiny bark strips. Just make you one more pass, get on scale, square your log up, and get to where you don't have to deal with all that. But be on scale on the 3rd and the 4th cut, everything will go smooth for you. But let's get to this square edge down at the bottom I was talking about earlier. I'm gonna take you off the stand and show you this. You have your log stops down here at the bottom. These little dogs. Once you get this all the way down, there will be a point when you have to get this all the way down out of the way for your blade. This needs to be sitting on your cutting deck, and this has to grab it. If you have bark on the edge of that board, it's gonna wanna fall over when you get them log stops out of the way. And let me tell you something, that is aggravating, because once you get to that point, you have a stack of those, I call them sticks, top of that last cut, and when you pull them out of the way, they all fall down. Just by doing that one little extra step, cleaning that board off, whether you have to take that one off the top and set it on there later, or you just cut it clean in that pass when you get on scale right there, either way, make sure you do that. Hey, let's finish cutting this log up. Let's move on to the next part of this technique. It involves the chainsaw. I almost forgot to mention also, the blades I'm running is the 739 turbos. They are Wood-Mizer blade. Wait a minute, you got a Timberking mill. Yeah, oh well. I believe that Timberking mill is the best mill out there, but that blade is by far the fastest blade that I have cut with. And I will continue to run them. I'll put Joe Main's contact down there at the bottom in the description. If you haven't tried them, you need to try them. Well, we did it, guys. Stack stayed up. You see what I was talking about when I put these all the way down? It pressed up against these little stationary log stops. Everything held up fine. One thing to mention here, when you're cutting these stacks like this, with all them boards being separated in one buys, you will get a little sawdust in there and it can push that pile apart. You're gonna have that from time to time. Another thing to look for, you're gonna have stress in some logs that you cut. Everybody knows that. You can't go around it. It's just gonna happen. You'll have some of these want to move and make this pile unstable. You do not have to cut this all the way down and then do the step that I'm fixing to do. You can stop, put these back up, cut them, stack, then finish making your cuts. But on to this next step. Let's size them. I already have one pre-cut, 60 inches. Lay this dude up here. Make sure there's nothing underneath at all on your mill that you can hit. Here's the chainsaw part. Go slow, take it easy. A lot of y'all will maybe disagree with me. Cutting stuff on the mill with your chainsaw. I do it all the time. You just gotta be aware of what's underneath. I have touched things, no hydraulic hoses, thank the Lord. Go slow, take it easy. And this part can be done right here. Let's hop to it. I know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in it. check your saw for gas before making a video to put out. Another importance before I get this saw going of having these log stops back up. When you go to cutting these, this chain, of course, is gonna grab that wood. And if these are not up here, it will pull them off to you. I like putting these up. I would say it's a must, and it'll hold everything on the mill. Voila, we got it done. Now, the only thing left to do is count and stack. Very simple, put on the mill, Follow that technique I just showed you. If you have any questions, comment below. I can try to clarify things for you if you didn't understand one part or the other. But do not overlook this money-making little stick. It is a lot of cutting on your mill. Take all that into consideration when you're trying to work up a price. Cut you a few, get out there on the market, bring them around, and go advertise. You can go make some money. Y'all look down in the description. There'll be a few other videos down there that can help out your sawmill production. And I'll put the one for the house. We have built this house with my sawmill. A lot of cutting, a lot of hard work went into that. Y'all go check one of them videos out, and I have a lot of other sawmill tips in other videos and shorts. Y'all go check out the channel. Y'all please like, subscribe, and God bless. And don't forget, y'all come back here.